Hello, welcome now to an easy class about something which is quite important, and it's charts in Excel. So far we have seen tables, lots of tables with lots of numbers. They give us all the information we need to understand what's in those numbers. Yet sometimes they're not so easy to immediately understand and comprehend. That's why, since millennia, we use charts. Supposedly, there's an old Chinese saying that says, a good chart is worth more than 1,000 words. I'm not sure this was really true, it ever existed, but anyway, many people quote this kind of saying. So the interesting thing to know is that Excel is very good at doing charts. It's indeed very easy. And the first thing that I recommend to you is let Excel do the chart. There are quite useful functions for Excel to produce the chart automatically. There's a video down there by Microsoft, which is linked in the last box of this slide, which is 45 seconds, and basically shows you how to do it as a first step. Of course, there is a lot more on charts than what is on the Microsoft video, but let's begin there. So just have a look at the video and then go to the next slide, please. A couple of slides on the type of charts you can create. You can customize your charts as much as you want. You can add a background of your choice, even one of your pictures as a background, and then change and edit the chart's elements. We will go through each one of these steps one by one in the next few slides. This is just to give you an idea of how you can customize your charts. Actually, there's almost no limit or a little limit to the customization you can do on your Excel charts. This is an example of a highly customized Excel chart in which I even changed the data point representation. This should be a vertical bar chart, but then each data point on the vertical bar is worth what? Some 40,000 pumpkins sold. It's a symbolic idea of how many units of things have been charted. You can change the background of the whole chart, as well as you can change the background of the bar area, which is called the plot area. We will see these things one by one in the next slides. Pardon. One thing I'd like to add while watching this slide is that the more you customize a chart, the more attention you have to pay to elegance, style and taste of the chart. Well, taste about pumpkin, that's something we know, but evidently this chart is a bit too much customized. It's my humble opinion. Especially when you present something in a report, I would caution you not to easily go to such extremes as what we have in the chart, in this chart. Well, unless you want to do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. And in the next slide, we will try to explain step by step each one of those possible options. Anyway, this slide already gives you an idea of the complexity of an Excel chart, of the different components. Pumpkin sales by city, it's the title of the chart. Then you have a chart background, then you have the plot area, and then you have the bars, and then you have the labels. Each one, we will look at that. Terminology. As everything in science, words have a special meaning, and we need to know what we're talking about. So, the chart is the complete thing, the graphic representation of data. Inside the chart area, I have the plot area, which is the gray shaded area inside the picture on your left, and it's where the actual representation enters. The title, note, the title is not part of the plot. The title is part of the chart. Then three very important things: data point, data series, and category label. Data point is the single value that you find in one cell of Excel, which is then represented in the chart. So data point is 26, it's 15, it's 30. It's the value of each bar if you want. A data series is the group of related data points. The three bars are a data series. From internet sales, it's one series. In-store sales, it's another data series. Data series is a group of related data points. You may have a data point that belongs to many data series. March, it's a category label that describes a group of data points in a chart, but it's also a data series, all data related to March. So the sales, the internet sales for March, it's a data point which is worth, say, 32 in this chart. The last blue bar on the right, internet sales for March, has the value 32. It's a data point, 32. Now, this 32 belongs to the data series internet sales, but also to the data series March. And the category label describes what the data series title is. Hope this is clear. If it's not, go back to looking at the slide and listen to the audio, but we will be absolutely familiar with these very simple terms in a very short time. A few more things about the chart elements and how we call them. I think this slide is quite self-explanatory. The chart title is the title up there. Then you have the data labels, which are, if you want to show them, the actual value of each bar or of each data series. Data series is the collection of points on that chart. The grid lines may appear on the background of the plot area to better visualize the values of the quantities plotted. The chart area is actually comprehensive of everything what we have said. The y-axis and the x-axis are, well, I mean, that should be known to any college student what they mean. And keep this slide as a reference when we will talk about changing the x-axis labels and so on and on. So the last thing we do on our gradebook exercise is now use the third sheet, the year that you should have created by today, and anyway I will recreate in class, giving you the solution of the exercise, of the test actually. And then we will work on that to create a chart out of the year synthesis, the third sheet, and modify that chart in all possible ways, so that we will get altogether familiar with that kind of customization of the charts of Excel. This is something we'll do it in class, and then I will add the video recording of the class to this very same presentation by the end of the day. As you have seen, there are so many options in creating and in modifying an Excel chart. I leave and we will adopt a few simple slides, a number of them, reminds you how to do a certain operation, like the change and edit the chart's elements, put a background picture, modify the bars, with modifying the chart, similar things. It's actually doing that, practice and explain simply what and it's a nice thing to do, because whenever you create a basic chart that normally you have lots of ways of improving, of making it better, including selecting one of the already styled charts from the Excel menu up on the left. We will go through a few of them, but again, the best way is to keep trying and keep learning. So, I'm not going to show you. If you like modifying charts, to create a chart, there are two videos, one from Microsoft and the other from a Microsoft trainer that are a good introduction. I do not think it is necessary for me to since this is an duplicate these kind of videos, including screen recordings. I want to go on into real teaching data, and we will do also some exercise, and this will be a test. So please. But it's interesting and nice. Pay attention and be familiar with what I'm doing, because these yellow fields you will have to fill in a later test. Explains better. Now I'm just willing to show you how to produce a chart to say with the state. So let's move on to the few more interesting arguments and the votes for as you have seen. You see, there are so many options in creating and in modifying an Excel chart. Select everything, and we will adopt and then few of them, a number of them, during the rest of the class. Chart. The only really way to something with too much be confident and familiar with modifying the charts is actually doing that. Besides, practicing that. This is one of the situations in which we cannot thing to do, because whenever you create a basic chart, electoral votes, you have lots of ways that are improving, of making it better, in units, including selecting one of the already styled charts from the Excel menu, millions on the hundreds of thousands. We will go through some of you may not be familiar with that, but electoral system of the United States, to keep trying and keep learning to and keep improving. If you like modifying charts, for the moment, we just want to concentrate. There are two videos, one from Microsoft and the other from a Microsoft trainer, that are a good introduction. This column. I do not think it is necessary to and we do that by duplicate selecting one kind of videos, then including screen recordings. Selecting the second I want to go on into real teaching. This is accessories. Keep control pressed when you do this operation. It's interesting and nice and useful accessories. Numbers of the because a better chart are the same. Explains better. So what the numbers to Georgia are intended to say. Georgia for Bush. And then so let's move on to a few more interesting arguments. And this way you can, as you have seen, insert. There are so many options in creating and in modifying an Excel chart. That's nice. And we will adopt a few of them, a number of them, during the rest of the class for each one of the candidates. The only really way to be confident and familiar with modifying the charts. Let's now do that for is actually doing that, practicing that. So I press and it's a nice thing to do, because whenever you create a basic chart, now I have to zoom out. You have lots of ways of improving, of making it better, to fill including selecting one of the already styled charts from the Excel menu. So the first operation is I select. We will go through a few of range of data I want to plot. Again, now the first range of data I want to plot and keep learning and keep improving. The labels, if you like the headline charts. Here there are two videos, one from Microsoft and the other from a Microsoft trainer. The labels that are a good introduction. What goes I do not think it is necessary for me to explain duplicate what kind of videos, including screen recordings. Next, I want to go on Control, into real teaching. The Control key, and I keep it pressed. Accessories. And then go and select George Bush. But it's interesting and nice and useful accessories. Next, because I keep a better chart. I explains better on what the numbers Control key pressed. And I so let's move on to a few more interesting arguments then. As you have seen, there are so many options at this point in creating and in modifying an Excel chart. My hands from the keyboard. And we will adopt a few of them, or a number of them, during the rest of the class.
Three
The
columns,
only really way to
non-contiguous,
be confident and familiar with modifying the charts
inserting
is actually doing that,
chart,
practicing that. And it's a nice thing to do, because whenever you create a basic chart,
will allow
you have lots of ways
to have
improving, of making it better.
Now this is
including
one of the
selecting
typical
one of the already styled charts from the Excel menu,
because the labels of the 50 states must not
we will go through a few of them,
all written
but
here, and we have to
again, the best way is to
resize
keep
the
trying and keep learning
in a long
and keep
horizontal
improving. If
one.
you like modifying charts,
So to allow for
here
Wisconsin,
there are two
Wyoming, West
videos,
Virginia,
one from
Washington,
Microsoft and the
all
other one from
states are here now.
a Microsoft trainer, that
And
are
after
a good
that, we can
introduction.
change the titles.
I do not think it is necessary
Popular.
for me to duplicate this kind of videos, including screen recordings. I want to go on into real teaching. This is accessories. But it's interesting and nice and useful
And then
accessories,
maybe, I don't know, you want to
because
create something
a better
nicer.
chart explains
Change
better
as you want.
what the numbers are intended to say. So let's move on to a few more interesting arguments then. As you have seen,
way
there are so many options in creating and in modifying an Excel chart.
One is to
And
start the chart from
we will
scratch.
adopt
Without
a few of them,
selecting
or
the
a
range
number
of
of them,
data
during the
before.
rest of the class. The only really
This way
way
you start
to
an empty chart that
be
you later
confident
fill
and
with
familiar
data.
with modifying the
So
charts
insert.
is actually doing that.
In this case, you have to
practicing
select what kind of chart
and
you
it's a
want
nice
to
thing
enter
to do,
first.
because whenever you create
Then you can
a
change
basic
it,
chart,
but one selection must be done.
you have
so
lots
let
of
us
ways
say we want to work
of improving,
on
of making it better,
a bar chart,
including
a 2D
selecting
column bar
one
chart.
of the already
see
styled
here we
charts
have
from the
a
Excel
chart
menu,
which
up
is
on
empty,
the left.
totally empty.
We will go through
We work
a few
on
of
this
them,
chart
but
by right-clicking
again,
in
the
the
best
chart
way
area
is to keep trying
choose
and keep learning
select data.
and keep improving. If you like modifying charts, here there
dialog
are two
box
videos,
opens.
one from Microsoft and the other one from
And
a
here,
Microsoft trainer.
the first
that
thing I
are
have
a
to
good
do
introduction.
is to select
I do not think
one
it is
of the
necessary
numbers
for me
series
to
I want to enter.
duplicate this
This
kind of
is the
videos,
first,
including screen recordings.
button
I
to
want to go
press.
on into
I
real
add
teaching.
a Legion
This
series.
is
I will call this
accessories.
series name. It gives me by default
but
a
it's
big box of
interesting
one.
and
We
nice
just
and
don't care
useful
about that.
accessories.
The series name will
Because
be George Bush.
a better
so
chart
clicking on the cell that
explains
contains
better
George Bush.
what the numbers
And the series values
are intended
I have
to
to
say.
get rid of this number one.
So
because
let's move
this
on
is
to
not
a
what
few
I
more
want.
interesting
I want
arguments then.
this column
As you have seen,
here.
there are so many options in creating
column
and in
of
modifying an Excel chart.
Cells that contains
And
George Bush
we
data.
will adopt
And here I
a
have
few of
the
them,
first,
or a number of them, during the
stage
rest of the class.
This chart creation.
The only
51
really
numbers.
way to be confident and familiar with modifying
At
the
this
charts
point,
is actually
Excel
doing
automatically
that,
added
practicing
a
that.
default horizontal
And
axis
it's a nice
label
thing to do,
in
because
numbers,
whenever you
because
create
there are
a
51
basic
cells,
chart,
and it says so 1
you
to
have
51.
lots of ways
we have to
of
edit this
improving,
one,
of making it better,
and we
including
decided,
selecting
and
one
we
of the
choose
already
here the
styled
axis
charts
label
from the Excel
range,
menu,
the cell
up
that
on the
contains
left.
what we want to show.
We will go
instead
through
of numbers,
a few of them,
which
but
are, of course,
again,
the
the
names
best
of the
way is
state.
to keep trying and keep learning and
You
keep
see,
improving.
now
if
we
you
have
like
something
modifying charts,
looks good.
here there are two
And
videos,
this is
one
for
from
George Bush.
Microsoft and the other one from
Okay.
a Microsoft trainer, that are a good
I want to
introduction.
now add
I
also
do not
John
think it
Kerry
is
data.
necessary for me
And so I
to
click add.
duplicate this kind of videos,
The series
including
name
screen
will be the cell
recordings.
that contains
I want to go
John
on
Kerry.
into real teaching.
And the series values will be
This is
going back by hand
accessories.
here, but leave the equal sign.
but it's interesting
the
and
cells
nice
that
and useful
John Kerry
accessories,
contains.
because a better chart explains better what the numbers are intended to say. So let's move on to
And
a
I
few
have
more interesting arguments then. As you have seen,
that I want.
there are so many options
no title,
in creating and in
no
modifying an Excel chart.
references. We have to
And
add a link
we
by
will
hand.
adopt
But that's the way I
a
create
few of them, or a number of them, during the rest of the class. chart.
The only really way to
be confident and familiar with modifying the charts is actually doing that, practicing that. And it's a nice thing to do, because whenever you create a basic chart,